Imagine a school where the director is secretly plotting to get you expelled by sending a professional assassin after you. Ayanokoji is a genius student from a place called the White Room, and now he has to survive his second year while being hunted. The school introduces a new app that ranks every student's ability, forcing everyone to compete individually. The director Tsukishiro handing over Ayanokoji's personal data and the information of all the second-year students to a mysterious individual. His goal is to get Ayanokoji expelled within a single month so he can be sent back to the White Room. Tsukishiro warns the person to be careful because Ayanokoji's father is a dangerous man who won't forgive any mistakes. The director notices the student looks unhappy, likely because Ayanokoji is constantly called the White Room's masterpiece. The student gets angry, but Tsukishiro reassures them that with their talent and the setup he has provided, expelling Ayanokoji will be easy. As the student leaves, it is revealed that a battle is beginning between two White Room students to see who is the hunter and who is the prey. Back at the school, Akito meets Ayanokoji and mentions he was worried because Ayanokoji missed the group meetings during spring break. Ayanokoji explains he was just a bit busy. Akito tells him there is no pressure, but Haruka and Sakura were genuinely concerned. Ayanokoji apologizes and says he will try to attend the next meeting. Meanwhile, Sudo and Kushida are shocked to see Suzune because she has cut her hair short. Suzune explains she did this as a resolution to reach Class A in their second year. Kushida thinks about growing her hair long, so she can make her own resolution. Their homeroom teacher enters and tells everyone to download a new app called Overall Ability, or OA. This app tracks every student's data and gives them grades based on their performance from the previous year. Grades range from a plus to E and are updated every month. Sudo is told that if he tops the next exam, his E grade will jump to an A+, but poor scores will make the grades drop. Ayanokoji realizes the school is using this to track everyone's accomplishments, but he suspects there is a bigger reason for introducing it now. The teacher mentions that the app is meant to increase interaction between different school years, and those who don't meet a certain benchmark by the end of the year will face penalties, possibly even expulsion. Ayanokoji realizes this system forces students to compete individually rather than as a class. He learns this was proposed by the new student council president, Nagumo, who wants a system where everyone is evaluated on individual ability. The teacher then announces the first special exam of the second year. Students must partner with first-year students for a 5-subject test, worth 500 points. They have 2 weeks to find a partner through mutual consent. High-performing students will be in high demand because they can guarantee a good grade for their partner. If someone fails to find a partner by the deadline, they will be assigned one randomly, but will face a 5% penalty. After class, the students are worried because those with low grades think no one will want to partner with them. Suzune explains that to avoid expulsion, the combined score of a student and their partner must be over 500 points. This means a student with an E grade needs to pair with someone who has a B grade or higher. Ayanokoji notices a dangerous rule, stating that if any student intentionally lowers their score, they will be expelled immediately. He realizes a White Room student could easily pair with him and intentionally score a 0 to get them both kicked out. He concludes that Tsukishiro likely introduced this rule specifically to target him. Suzune reminds Ayanokoji of their bet. If he wins the next test, she joins the student council, but if she wins, he has to use his full talent to help the class. She notes there are 54 high-achieving first years available, but getting them to pair with low-achieving second years will be hard. She asks Ayanokoji to help find a partner for Sudo, since his aggressive personality scares people away. They hear that Ikanos is holding a mixer to help students meet, but Suzune decides to skip it. She realizes Class 1D didn't attend the mixer, meaning they are acting as a unit under one leader. She wants to negotiate with that leader directly, instead of talking to students one by one. On their way, they meet Hashimoto from Class A and Ryuen from Class C. Ryuen says he plans to recruit first years by threatening them, arguing that intimidation isn't strictly against the rules as long as there is no proof. He warns Suzune that someone is already coaching the first years on how the school works, making them very calm and calculating. When Suzune and Ayanokoji reach the Class 1D room, they find it completely empty, realizing the situation is more difficult than they thought. Back in class, 2 first years named Nanace and Housen show up on the second year floor. Housen is extremely arrogant and insults the second years, calling them a group of failures. He tells them that since only second years face expulsion for failing this exam, they should bow down and beg the first years for help. Sudo gets angry, but Suzune tries to stay calm. telling Housen that both classes are the same rank. Housen mocks them, saying he doesn't care about the penalty for not having a partner, because he only loses some private points, whereas the second years lose everything. Housen pushes Sudo, and then gets into a confrontation with Ryuen and Ishizaki. Housen calls Ryuen a weakling, but Ryuen refuses to fight in a hallway with cameras. Housen loses his temper and grabs Ibuki by the neck, lifting her into the air. Nane stops him by threatening to reveal a specific secret if he doesn't let go. Housen eventually drops Ibuki. A teacher named Shiba arrives to stop the fighting and sends the first years away. Housen leaves after telling Ryuen he is open to partnering up if Ryuen is interested. As they leave, Ayanokoji notices Nanace watching him closely. Then, a junior from middle school named Yagami approaches Kushida. Kushida seems happy to see him, but when Ayanokoji asks Suzune if she knows him, she says she doesn't recognize anyone she didn't have business with back then. Ayanokoji wonders if Yagami knows about Kushida's hidden past. Yagami asks Kushida to be his partner for the exam, explaining that as a new student, he needs someone he can trust. Kushida asks for some time to decide, and Yagami agrees to wait for her answer before asking anyone else. In the school marketplace, Sudo is frustrated seeing the first-year students relaxing, while his group struggles to find him a partner. They approach a group of first years who are open to negotiating, but things take a turn when a student asks for 500,000 private points. Sudo is stunned by the high price. The first years explain that other classes are making big offers, and they are also afraid of Housen's reaction if they help Class D. Suzune realizes that playing a money game is impossible because they don't have enough points to secure multiple students. Just then, a girl named Ikika Amasawa from Class 1A introduces herself. She has a grade in academics and offers to be a partner. However, she has a strange requirement. She likes physically strong men and men who can cook. Since Sudo can't cook, Suzune claims Ayanokoji is an expert. Ikika challenges Ayanokoji to prepare a delicious home-cooked meal for her the next day. If she likes it, she will partner with Sudo. The next day, Ayanokoji brings Ikika to his room. She makes him leave his phone on the bed so he can't look up recipes. In reality, Suzune is watching through a hidden camera and giving Ayanokoji step-by-step instructions through an earpiece. Ayanokoji successfully prepares the dish, and Ikika finds it delicious. She keeps her word and agrees to partner with Sudo. After she leaves, Ayanokoji checks his room for recording devices. He notes that since Ikika chose to pair with Sudo instead of him, she likely isn't the spy from the White Room. Ayanokoji receives a message from Nanace, who wants to meet and apologize for Housen's earlier behavior. She tells Ayanokoji she wants to help both Class D groups find partners. Ayanokoji introduces her to Suzune, and they exchange contact information. Ayanokoji warns Suzune that Housen is definitely manipulating the market for points and might be targeting them. Meanwhile, Kushida has already partnered with Yagami, which helps open a line of communication with the first years. In Class A, Sakayanagi learns that Ryuen is interfering with her recruitments by offering students 10,000 points just to reject Class A's offers. Sakayanagi realizes Ryuen is trying to start a bidding war to drain her points, but she remains confident in Class A's brand power. Over in Class C, Ryuen tells his subordinates to offer massive amounts of points, 100,000 upfront and 200,000 later to first years. However, he reveals he has no intention of actually paying. He is simply testing the first years to see which ones are greedy enough to be manipulated in the future. Suzune and Ayanokoji meet Nanace in the library to finalize a deal. They run into Hiyori from Class C, who mentions things are going well for her class. Suzune tells Nanace that she won't pay any private points for a contract. Nanace explains that 15 students in Class 1B are still without partners and agrees that a large-scale contract for all of them would be beneficial. However, she warns that Housen will never allow a deal to go through without a payout. Suzune realizes she now understands Housen's mindset and needs a new plan to deal with him. Ayanokoji explains to Suzune and Nanace that Housen's main goal isn't just collecting points. He realizes that if Housen only wanted money, he would have targeted low-scoring students for high payouts. Instead, Housen is using the exam rules to gain absolute control over his class so he can threaten anyone who disobeys with expulsion. Suzune dislikes this strategy because she wants to build partnerships based on trust, not bribery. Nanace calls Housen to set up a meeting, but he is rude and threatens to hurt her if she keeps talking about a deal. He tells them to only contact him if they have points to offer and hangs up. Back in his room, Ainakoji receives a call from Karuizawa. She has been investigating a specific purchase at a shop and informs him that only one item was sold in early April. She mentions a girl was involved in the transaction but doesn't have a name. Ainakoji thanks her and invites her to his apartment for a study session. Karuizawa is excited and asks if his presence will help her stay motivated. Ainakoji says having her boyfriend there should help, which makes her very happy. Suzune tries to talk to Konji about the upcoming exam, but he refuses to let her pick a partner for him. He claims he can easily get a passing grade on his own and doesn't care about the class rankings. Later, Nanase meets with Suzune and Ainakoji again. She apologizes for Housen's behavior and suggests that she might have to take over as the leader of Class 1D to save their competitiveness. Suzune warns her that opposing Housen directly could split their class in half. Ainakoji talks to Nanase privately and shares information about protection points, which can prevent expulsion. He notes that she seems too polite and observant to be the White Room student he's looking for. Karuizawa arrives at Ainakoji's room to study. He tells her that if he used his full strength, he could easily score 400 points on the exam. Their session is interrupted by Ikika Amasawa, who shows up unannounced. Karuizawa finds a red hair strand on the bed and gets jealous, but Ikika explains she just left a hair tie behind during her previous visit. After some teasing, Ikika leaves, but Karuizawa remains annoyed with Ainakoji for letting another girl into his room. Ainakoji notices that over 70% of the students have already formed partnerships. Sakayanagi approaches him and warns him that an assassin from the White Room is definitely on campus to get him expelled. Ainakoji tells her he is changing his approach and will use his full power from now on. Soon after, Utamiya and Tsubaki from Class 1C approach Ainakoji. They want him to partner with Tsubaki because they don't want to deal with Class C's point demands. Ainakoji tells them he has a candidate in mind, but keeps their contact information as a backup. Meanwhile, Maya Sato confronts Karuizawa about her breakup with Hirata. Karuizawa admits that she and Ainakoji started dating after spring break. Maya is upset because she had feelings for him first, but she slaps Karuizawa once to settle the score, and they reconcile as friends. On Sunday, Ainakoji meets Sudo, who is studying hard. Sudo admits he wants to improve himself over the next 2 years to become someone Suzune can respect. Suzune arrives, and the group goes to meet Nanase at a shop. Finally, Housen shows up to begin the negotiations. Housen tells the group that Nanase informed him about Suzune's class needing his help. Suzune says she simply wants the two classes to work together for the upcoming exam. She warns him that while some first years don't care about their classmates now, they might need their help in the future. Housen mocks her, assuming she is the class leader, and says he has no interest in working with her unless she pays him in private points. Suzune refuses to pay anything. Housen prepares to leave, but Nanase stops him, asking him to listen to the full offer. Nanase mentions that cooperating would build trust for future exams where the first years might need the second year's help. She also brings up protection points, explaining that if Housen tries to sabotage a partner who has one, it will backfire on him. Housen is annoyed but still refuses to cooperate. Housen demands 1 million private points, promising to pay them back later if they trust him. Ainakoji observes the interaction and realizes Housen is smarter and more manipulative than he looks, comparing him to Ruin. Suzune still doesn't trust the deal. In response, Housen splashes water in Suzune's face. Sudo tries to attack him, but Suzune stops him and leads her group away. They meet again 10 minutes later. Housen raises his demand to 3 million points for himself. When Suzune tries to walk away again, Housen suddenly attacks. Sudo moves to protect her and takes a punch to the stomach. Housen begins beating Sudo. Nanase explains to Suzune that Student Council President Nagumo told the first years that this year would be a meritocracy based solely on ability. Housen continues to pummel Sudo while mocking Suzune's anger. Eventually, Housen turns his attention to Suzune. She tries to fight back, landing a kick and a punch, but Housen catches her leg and throws her to the ground. He now demands 5 million points to end the fight. He tells Ainakoji to go get a teacher, but threatens to hurt Suzune even more if he moves. Housen pulls out a real knife. He threatens to frame Ainakoji or ruin him if Suzune doesn't pay up. Ainakoji steps forward to face him. Housen lunges with the knife, and Ayanokoji stops the blade by letting it stab directly through his own palm. Ayanokoji remains completely calm and tells Housen that he knows the plan. He reveals that the knife actually belongs to him. Ikika Amasawa had stolen it from his apartment during her visit and gave it to Housen after wiping her fingerprints. Ayanokoji explains that Housen wanted to provoke him into a fight so that the stabbing would look like Ayanokoji's fault, leading to his expulsion. Ayanokoji points out that several first years are likely working together to get him out of the school. He tells Housen that if he doesn't agree to the deal now, he will be the one expelled for the attack. Realizing he has been outplayed, Housen lets go of the knife and retreats. Ayanokoji decides that Housen cannot be the White Room student because a real assassin wouldn't draw this much attention to themselves. By the following Monday, the alliance between the classes is finalized. The special test is completed without further issues. When the results are released, Ayanokoji scores a perfect 100 in math, while Suzune scores an 87. Suzune admits her defeat in their bet. Nanes reveals that the first years were offered a 20 million point bounty for anyone who could successfully expel Ayanokoji. Later, Ayanokoji meets with acting director Tsukishiro. Tsukishiro asks if he has identified the White Room student yet, and Ayanokoji says he hasn't. Tsukishiro reveals that the student he sent isn't following his orders and that sending a White Room student wasn't even his personal decision. Ayanokoji realizes that Tsukishiro and the assassin are not working together. The final class rankings for the exam are announced. Class A takes first place, Class C is second, Class D is third, and Class B finishes last.